During the Renaissance, a period often celebrated for remarkable advancements in art, science, and culture, everyday aspects of life that today might seem mundane, such as the management of human waste, were handled in ways that influenced public health, urban development, and social norms. The question of toilet life, where did everyone go, invites us to explore how people of the time managed their basic bodily functions in cities that were growing denser and more complex, yet lacked the sanitation infrastructure we take for granted today. Most households, particularly in towns and cities, did not have dedicated flush toilets as we know them. Instead, the common solution was the use of chamber pots, portable containers kept within the home, often under beds or in corners of rooms, used for urination and defecation during the night or inclement, whether when venturing outside was inconvenient or frowned upon. These pots were typically ceramic or metal vessels, sometimes ornately decorated but fundamentally utilitarian. Chamber pots were then emptied manually, usually early in the morning. The disposal of the contents posed significant challenges. In wealthier homes, servants would carry the waste outside to be dumped into backyard pits or cesspits, essentially large holes dug in private yards, intended to contain and gradually decompose the excrement. These pits varied widely in construction and maintenance. Some were stone-lined, others just simple holes in the earth. However, because of their limited size and the absence of effective methods for emptying or treating the waste, cesspits frequently overflowed or leaked, contributing to foul smells and the spread of disease. The discharge of human waste in residential areas often contaminated local water sources and created unsanitary living conditions. For those without access to a backyard or any private waste disposal space, common among the urban poor and denizens of crowded city quarters, the options were more limited. Waste might be discarded directly onto the streets, which in many Renaissance cities were narrow alleys without paved surfaces. Laws varied, but enforcement was inconsistent, and it was often tolerated to throw chamber pot contents or other refuse into the street. This practice significantly contributed to the pollution and filth that made city streets notorious during the era. Beyond household systems, the natural environment was frequently co-opted as a functional part of the city's sanitation, or lack thereof. Rivers running through or near cities often doubled as open sewers, receiving direct discharge of human waste, industrial effluents, and other refuse. In cities like Florence, Venice, and London, rivers were essential for transportation and trade, but also bore the burden of waste disposal. When rivers were used as open sewers, they became breeding grounds for disease, particularly waterborne illnesses such as dysentery, cholera, and typhoid fever. Although the specific microbial causes of these diseases would not be understood until centuries later. The use of rivers as open sewers also had practical consequences. The presence of waste contaminated drinking water, as many cities sourced water directly from these waterways. Additionally, the accumulation of waste in urban waterways could cause blockages and flooding, further exacerbating sanitary problems. Efforts to manage these issues were rudimentary. Some cities attempted to regulate waste disposal or construct rudimentary drains or gullies, but infrastructure remained limited. Public latrines or communal privies did exist in some urban centers, particularly in parts of Italy and France. These were essentially shared toilets, sometimes constructed over a cesspit or connected to a drainage system. The privacy and hygiene of such facilities varied widely. In some cases, these communal latrines might be located along main streets or near markets, allowing for public access, but they were often poorly maintained and came with their own health risks. The Renaissance saw gradual changes in attitudes toward urban sanitation, fueled in part by growing understanding of disease transmission, though true germ theory would not emerge until much later, and the recognition that filthy conditions exacerbated outbreaks of plague and other epidemics. Italian cities like Venice began investing in sewer systems, sometimes channeling waste away from populated areas into lagoons or the sea. Venice's sophisticated system of canals played a dual role in transportation and waste removal, although it was far from perfect. In Northern Europe, cities began constructing more formal drainage systems during the late Renaissance and into the early modern period. The improvements were incremental, but set important precedents for urban planning and public health. The existence of cesspits and the filling of backyard pits with human waste also created a market for night soil collectors, workers who removed and transported human excrement outside the city for use as fertilizer in agricultural fields. This labor was essential in managing waste, but often stigmatized due to its unpleasant nature. The persistence of open sewers and rudimentary waste management throughout the Renaissance reflected the complex challenges in balancing growing populations, urban density, limited technology, and social attitudes toward bodily functions. Not until the 19th century did comprehensive sewer networks and sanitary engineering transform urban living conditions. But the foundations for awareness and incremental improvement were laid during these earlier centuries. Understanding how people managed their toilet life during the Renaissance challenges romanticized views of the era and reveals how daily practices influenced health, urban design, and social structures. The chamber pot, the backyard pit, and the river as an open sewer tell a story of human adaptation to imperfect environments, highlighting the essential, if often invisible, infrastructure of cleanliness and health that supported Renaissance life.